Welcome to Voices of the Code. I'm your host, Karl Murray, and this is
I'm your co-host, Steven.
awesome. Okay, so this is going to be kind of an interesting first episode. Basically, what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of introduce each other, talk back and forth, and then the next episode will have a lot more structure. We have a lot more questions we can ask, and we can get some other perspectives in here. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Why don't we kick things off by telling people what Voices of the Code is going to be all about?
Sure. So my thought for Voices of the Code was we have a lot of podcasts where we can meet Adam Wabbins, the Taylor Outwells, Aaron Francises of the world, but we don't have a whole lot of the Stephen Foxes and Karl Murrays. So I was kind of interested to get to meet those people. And that was kind of my whole thought, was I wanted to go to the lesser known, the wider Laravel community and get to talk to them and find out what's going on in their worlds.
Yeah, totally. And I feel like Laracon was like a really good indicator for a lot of this, because you just meet so many really cool people that are working on stuff that's all over the spectrum. And I think it'd be a lot of fun to have conversations with them to chat about all of that stuff. So some of it might be fairly technical. Sometimes it'll just be conversations about whatever with these guys. So it's to broaden the community experience.
Right. Absolutely.
Sounds good.
So yeah, Steven, tell me a little bit about yourself. Like what got you into writing code?
Sure. So about 6 years ago at this point, I actually acquired a little business called Backer Club. And to make a very long story short, I needed to basically redo the whole website. And so I chose Laravel to do that. And so at that time, I figured out how to do things. Thank you, Laracasts and Jeffrey Way, predominantly to get me going.
Shout out to Jeffrey Way.
And yeah, so here we are 6 years later, still running the business. And that's like my day-to-day. It doesn't take up all of my week at this point. But that is what got me into Laravel. The platform is based on Laravel serving like RESTful API and like the admin stuff and email sending, and then the front end is a Nuxt app. And that's what got me into a lot of this. And that's sort of my background. And now there's a whole lot of other little side projects going on, which we can get into here.
They go all over the place, don't they? There's a lot of sprawling side projects.
It's funny. As soon as you start to like meet cool people in this space, you're just like every week coming up with new little projects to work on. Some of them are like maybe viable business ideas. Others are just like, I'd really like to do this for fun. Do you want to help me? Yeah, let's do it.
Right. And that's kind of how Steven and I met. So I guess we can snap back to that one for a second. So sure. Everyone jokes about the secret chat that secretly ran all of Laracon, which I think is pretty funny.
Pretty much, yeah. There's like 150 something people in it or whatever.
Yeah, there's 150 people in it. We'll joke about how they secretly ran all of Laracon. Like they were feeding Aaron questions to ask on stage. There was all kinds of really cool chaos that was happening back there. But it was really cool because it allowed us to like get to know each other long before Laracon, and that was like a week out. So we were getting to know each other and kind of getting interest and going, okay, who do we talk to? Hey, who do we want to hang out with? Like, what are the people that we want to like try and collaborate with pretty early on, which is pretty cool. And funny part about that is there was an ongoing joke about this little project called LaraBets that was like, I bet you 2 beers or whatever at the local tavern if something new gets announced on Laracon. And it became a joke where Bogdan actually was like, yeah, that sounds like a really good idea. And I jokingly said something like just off the cuff of like, yeah, buy the domain, I'll contribute. And like 2 seconds later, I got a text back from Bogdan. He was like, here's the domain. I'm like, okay, well, I guess this is real.
And we're off. Yeah.
All right. So yeah, that's kind of where LaraBets came from. So inside information for you guys.
Yeah. But yeah, and that's also how Karl and I met, and now we've been hanging out a little bit off air. Everything from video games to other little projects, and now here we are bringing you guys Voices of the Code. So hopefully this goes well.
Yeah. By the way, if you guys are into Space Marine 2, ping Steven, and then we can add you to our little chaos group. It'd be fun.
Yeah. Every now and again, there's 3 of us running around shooting aliens. So, it's a pretty fun time.
And one of us dying, the other one like going, "I'll save him." Yeah, it's great.
So let me flip the tables a little bit on you here, Karl, and
let's go.
Go ahead and introduce yourself and what got you into Laravel, and then what you're doing as like a day job today and other little stuff.
Sure. Okay. So, the fun thing. I used to work in retail. I spent 13 years working in retail. Absolutely hated it.
Glad you're not in it anymore.
I'm not a salesperson. I can do sales, but I'm not like, I don't like marketing. I don't like sales, which is ironic because I got into web development, as a marketer. So it's like, hey, I'll help you build your website for, $500, which is kind of ironic.
Yeah.
So I got out of retail because I hated doing sales only to do more sales. It's great. Now, when I started, I was doing like Adobe Muse, if anybody knows that product, which is basically a static site generator. Like you draw squares on a screen and then you go publish the server and that's it. There's no CSS. There's no writing code. It's just drawing squares on a screen. Then that product disappeared. Like Adobe just said, nope, we're not doing that anymore. So I went on to WordPress, which is really cool because it allowed me to do one thing that I didn't have with a static site generator like Adobe Muse, which is I had access to the database. I could store stuff in the database and loop over it and do all kinds of crazy cool stuff with it. Right. And I got pretty well known in the, what is it? What was that thing that everybody used back then? Divi. WordPress theme called Divi.
Okay.
And I was pretty well known in that Facebook group, and I started asking questions that were frustrating me about WordPress. And one of the guys, this is a long-winded way of saying this, but he messaged me because I was complaining about how hard it was to work with, and he was like, "Karl, just write code. It's not hard. If you can learn Divi over a weekend, you can learn how to write code."
Yeah.
Shout out to Thomas, by the way. He is still a really good friend of mine. We talk all the time. I actually flew out to North Carolina to go to his wedding.
Oh, sweet.
Like, I've never met
my
the
neck
guy.
of the neighborhood. Yeah, like
I was in the Winston-Salem area. So
cool. That's like an hour from me.
Very. Okay, I need to stop meeting people from North Carolina on the internet and hanging out with them.
It's where the best folks are.
Yeah, I'm moving next week there.
For listeners that don't know, Karl is in Texas, so
yeah. And little Texas joke for you guys. This morning I was woken up at 4:53 a.m. because of a stupid APB. Yeah. So anybody in Texas will get that joke. Everybody else will just be like, "That's not funny." You're welcome. Anyway, so Thomas was like, "Learn how to write code. It's like it's not hard. You've done this. You've got it." And so I was like, "All right, well, what language do I learn?" He's like, "Well, you're already in the WordPress world. You might as well learn PHP."
Yeah.
Okay. So I wrote some PHP. I built my first website in it. It was a fair website that had a bunch of really complicated things because they did renting of like venues and stuff like that. They had on the fairgrounds. So like you can go get married in a horse trough if you want. I was like, yeah, and that's not my thing, but there are people who do. And so
was this within like a framework or you just raw dogged
No, this is raw PHP, vanilla PHP. This is going to snap back to Thomas really quickly, and you're going to laugh because it's really funny. So I built out this website, and it took me like 3 months to build out. There was no authentication. It was just raw PHP and the ugliness that it came to. But I was having a lot of fun. I was learning a lot, having fun with it. So Thomas said, and I quote, "If you're having fun with this and you want to do it full time, you're going to need to learn a framework. But I'm not in the PHP world, so I can't help you. you're going to need to find a framework yourself. So I did what everybody does. So I went to YouTube, typed in best PHP frameworks, and Laravel community popped up multiple times.
Right.
And so that is
sorry,
why
what
I'm
year
here.
would this have been, you think?
This would have been like 2018, 2019.
Oh, okay. So Laravel was mature.
2019. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like 5.6 and 5.8. So I started learning with PHP or with Laravel 5.6 or 5.7, somewhere in that area, and then like snapped into 5.8, and that's when I was like, okay, this release is out. I'm good. I'll start learning Laravel full time. And so my wife, she's crazy because I wouldn't have let her do this. But I stopped working. I stopped doing everything for 6 months and just taught myself Laravel. That was all I did for 6 months. So yeah, and did I mention that she was like 7 months pregnant at the time? No big deal.
Oh my God.
So I'm a jerk. That's the short end of that. But now I've been at Foxworld Travel for about 3.5 years, pushing 4 years in March. And so yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
Okay. Wow. So retail to like
WordPress.
basically WordPress, and then raw dog and some PHP, and now you're into Laravel, and you've been doing, professional
enterprise
development
grade
work,
code.
enterprise grade, at Fox for a while. So that's super cool. Nice.
Yep. That's Steven, we have a really common interest. And this is one that I feel like a lot of Laravel members share, which is custom keyboards.
Oh. Sure. I feel like anybody that's just like bashing on keys as their source of income probably has got an opinion about keyboards. So
yeah, I thought it was funny because for those of you who are watching and listening, I didn't tell Steven I was going to ask him that question, but I thought it was kind of funny to throw at him anyway. But ironically, we have the same brand keyboard, and it's not like a well-known brand.
Oh, really? So you don't think so? Well, we have ZSA. So we have ZSA keyboards. I feel like ZSA is fairly well known. I mean, like, I can't remember what they started with, like ErgoDocs and stuff. I thought got a decent amount of notoriety, and now with like the Moonlander and the new stuff.
Yeah, but they sell like thousands of keyboards. I feel like most people would be like, cool, I have a Razer. They sell millions of keyboards.
Yeah. My Apple keyboard does very well for me. Thank you.
Right. Is it Jeffrey Way that uses a standard Apple keyboard for everything?
Yeah, but like he's got to have one that's quiet. So I feel like that's a totally different necessity, right?
Right. Fair.
Meanwhile, I'm over here in my office by myself, so I get to make as much as I want.
It sounds like music to me. I don't know what you guys are complaining about.
But yeah,
cool.
So yep, we've got our ZSA keyboards. I've spent a lot of time.
If you're in the north.
Oh yeah, there we go. I spent a lot of time like updating my configuration so that it works really well for me with PHP Storm. Yes, I guess I'm an old school person, and I still use PHP Storm as my editor of choice over VS Code or something else. But I do use Vim, so give me some credit.
Yeah, fair. That is another weird trait that Steven and I both share that didn't realize. I also use PHP Storm for work, mostly because one of our legacy stacks still require us to upload files through FTP.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Ow. So that's really not fun to do in VS Code.
We just won't talk about that one.
Yeah, we don't talk about it. So that's really hard to do in VS Code, so I still use PHP Storm for that. But I am actually switching back to VS Code from PHP Storm. And this is the part where I get the dagger stares from Steven as that knife twists in his side.
I just don't get it.
So for me, it's about customization. Like I like getting rid of as much stuff off of the screen as physically possible and only calling it when I need it. And shout out to Caleb Porzio and the Make VS Code Awesome course. That does actually make VS Code awesome. And so I was able to get rid of all the things that were driving me crazy and allowed me to easily switch back to VS Code. So that's why I did it.
So you must be really looking forward to the Laravel extension that was announced at
Absolutely.
Laracon.
So I'm actually doing this really cool thing right now where I don't install extensions as much as possible. Like I need the extensions that do things like syntax highlighting in Laravel, but the go-tos, like all of those methods are, no, I just don't have them yet. And I don't plan on installing anything until the Laravel extension comes out.
Have you heard about, I won't say it's a trend, but like, are you familiar with the Odin programming language?
I am not.
Oh, okay. Well, there's this guy. I actually can't remember what his real name is, but he goes by Ginger Bill, I believe. And he's the creator of Odin. Yep. And I want to say I'm thinking of the right guy. And like, so like his thing that he's chatted about, I just saw this on the Primogen via an interview. And apparently Ginger Bill had like, he turns off all language server provider stuff. It's like he has basically nothing. Like it's just, you know, I don't know if there's any, I don't even think he gets like autocomplete or anything. I mean, he is just like, but he said that it has turned him into like a better programmer because it's forced him to remember and utilize like, you know, the key methods and all of that type of stuff. So yeah, anyways, I find that really fascinating that I guess it's, and you just saying that you're not doing extensions kind of makes me think of that. Like, what would it be like to code in Laravel without any hinting or IntelliSense whatsoever?
Right. I still have hinting. I still have IntelliSense because I'm not that level of Chad yet, but I am using Vim in both VS Code and PHP Storm.
Yeah, you've got to.
Yeah, there's just so many things that I can do that is so much easier to do with a keyboard. And I also am trying not to use the mouse as much as possible. Like I actually switched back to a trackpad, and the ZSA keyboards have a gap between them. So I actually have the trackpad in the middle of the two keyboard tabs.
Right.
So that instead of having to do the whole thing where you like your arms flex out to grab the mouse, it flexes in to touch the trackpad, which feels really, really nice to me. But I'm still trying not to use it.
Right. Yeah. It's always funny whenever you're like, as a developer, I just feel like you do get really good at using a keyboard for a lot of things. And then like, I have a business partner with Backer Club and he's not a developer. So when we're like in our emailing system, like answering stuff together and we're on a screen share and I'm just watching him use his mouse for like almost everything. He'll like use it for Command C and Command V to like copy paste stuff, but like so many other things where I'm just like, boom, open up Raycast, do this, hit this snippet, blah, 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 blah. Like,
I have a coworker that's the
he's got to
same
use
way.
a mouse.
I have a coworker that's the same way. And the other day I got him to use a keyboard shortcut where he went back like one character at a time to select the entire word. I'm like, oh God, there's such a better way of doing this.
Karl, I used to work with this guy. Super good guy, very talented with a camera. But when he would type, in order to make a like capital first character for a sentence or just anywhere that you needed a capital character, instead of holding shift and then hitting the character, he would tap caps lock, hit the character, and then turn caps lock off.
I'm the opposite. Okay, so my keyboard does not have a caps lock key, guys. It is gone. I don't have one.
I don't have one either. I have a backspace where caps lock would normally be. So
that is my control key.
Okay.
So for me, where caps lock would be is a control or I'm going to hit myself for hating this. It's either a control key or an escape key. There we go.
Okay. Well, don't hit it now because we're recording. So I don't want you to go bye-bye.
Yes. No. It's either a control key or an escape key, depending on if I'm hitting extra keys.
Okay. Cool.
So, yeah.
But yeah, funny stuff. It's just like, yeah, once you get really good with and I'm not even like a guru on the keyboard, right? Like, but still, you sort of hit like that level and then you remember what like 99% of the population, how they interact with a computer. And it's just like, it feels so different.
One of my coworkers, it's really funny. If you ask him what keyboard shortcut he just used, he can't tell you because his ergodox is so messed up. Like he is completely like if he holds a certain letter, it's the same as like 5 keys all at once. So I'm like, okay,
like some
but, like,
complicated macro
yeah.
and stuff. Yeah.
So, literally cannot tell you what keyboard shortcut he just used because it's like, it could be, I don't know, it's 5 keys. Who knows?
Yeah.
It's insane.
Good stuff.
He's a good guy though. Just I would never get to his level. I'm not that good. So yeah.
What's the next thing we want to talk about? Let's see. Do I have any other projects going on that I would want to let people know about?
Well, you're several podcasts deep at this point. I do know that.
We're trying. We'll see if any of them get any traction. I'm doing one. The other main one is going to be with Shane Rosenthal and Simon Hamp. So it's all S's. We're calling it the bucket. And if you're a developer that uses AWS services, you might be able to figure out where that name is coming from. But I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
Spoiler alert, it's S3, the bucket.
Yeah. Yes.
There you go.
Okay. I've been trying to get them to do something for a while just because like we have good conversations, and I was just always like, guys, why are we not just recording this and making it a podcast? And so we're finally making it happen. We'll see if it goes anywhere. But it has no particular theme. It's just 3 guys that are gonna talk about what we want to talk about. So probably not going to be quite as structured as what Voices of the Code will eventually be after this episode once we start having guests on.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll and yeah, we could chat a little bit about LaraBets since we're both working on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So this week has been a lot of fun with LaraBets. Steven and I kicked it off Sunday. I corrected the term this time. Last time I said it, I said that we had launched it, and it was like, nope, that's inaccurate. We kicked it off, and I feel like the progress has gone pretty well. I rewrote Breathe using Flex UI.
Yeah.
Which I thought was pretty cool. Knocked that out in like the first day, which is pretty fantastic. Everything else would have taken me like a month to probably do, and I probably would have just scrapped it and said, screw it, we're sticking with Breeze and defaults for everything. So
right.
That's gone. Stephen, you've been working on something kind of interesting. You want to talk about that for a second within LaraBets?
So again, refresher, the whole idea of LaraBets is we would have these occasions, events where users would get some coins. So like no actual monetary involvement here. No,
it's all for fun, guys.
It's all for fun. But anyways, you get these coins and then people could submit predictions of what they think, and then others can participate and like, yes, I bet that will or will not happen. And so I have been trying to figure out the math behind all of this and like the algorithms involved with placing bets, how that should change the quote unquote like market's inferred probability that the outcome will occur, making that stuff fluctuate, ensuring like liquidity factors into the algorithms kind of make sense, and doing a lot of that. And I think we're at a pretty good point for like a minimum viable product, and we're not trying to make this go as extreme as something like Polymarket, where we're getting like a decentralized nature involved or anything like that. Like it's a lot simpler than that sort of an approach. But yeah, it's still, I think, going to be like a true, I would call it more along like the sports betting realm of algorithms. And it's just like LaraBets is the house. And so we're going to be able to just like control kind of how like that stuff works. But it will be the placing of bets that dynamically changes and calculates what future bets will cost for people. Hopefully you would reach some sort of like a stable outcome in a perfect market. But like, I mean, it's going to be ridiculous predictions anyway. Like, how do you really know how many times VS Code is going to appear on a speaker's screen? But regardless, it'll be fun and it'll like actually work, I think. So we'll see.
So
stay tuned.
One crazy question for you. How much of this terminology did you know before Sunday, before we rolled into this conversation?
Zero. We literally kicked it off on Sunday. Like in the middle of the stream, I'm like trying to figure out if any of this stuff is even remotely viable. And then throughout this week, I've just been trying to get caught up because like I'm not a betting guy to begin with. So I don't even know like the sports betting lingo really. I mean, I think there's like over
Sports, what are
under
those?
and yeah, and like the spread and stuff like that. And we're not even doing like a true order book, right? This isn't going to be like user A wants to sell shares of a bet to user B. It's just like we're just going to let people place the bets that they want to, and the house provides like virtually unlimited liquidity in a way.
Right.
Sort of like how you can place a bet for roulette at a casino, and it's just like you get to choose that you want to call a bet on red, and like that just happens. You don't have to buy that bet from somebody else in the casino type of a thing. So
Right.
Anyway, don't want to go too far down that rabbit hole. I really hope I don't shoot myself in the foot by saying that it's like gonna work
It doesn't
in this
do that,
way, and then we never actually get there. But I'm feeling, like approximately 72.3% good about this. So we should get there.
We should. And we do have a very crazy goal of doing this and getting it live before Laracon AU, which is what, 4 weeks away, 5 weeks away?
Yeah. I was actually gonna have to talk to you about that. I was gonna do this off air, but why not just do it right now?
Yeah, let's go.
I'm a little nervous about that launch timeline because I was thinking like in order for people to actually benefit or to really use LaraBets in the way it's intended, they kind of need to be placing their bets before the event. Yeah. So like they would actually need to get onto the platform today so they can be placing bets over the next whatever until like, I don't know, by most predictions, you would have to close like the day of the event starting. Maybe for some predictions, it actually have to be earlier than that.
That would have been a good idea to think about Sunday. Maybe we can get a beta out in the next couple of weeks.
Okay, look, I think realistically, like we'll shoot for something people could halfway use with Laracon AU as like a proof of concept.
Yeah.
And then I feel like the first real utilization of LaraBets will be possible for Laracon EU, which is in February. Right. Okay. So it gives us a little bit more time to actually like polish things, making sure it's working, let people know about it.
And then they can market interest. If there's no interest, then we're spinning our wheels on nothing.
But yeah, and then letting people submit their predictions and place some bets like in January leading up to Laracon EU. And I mean, I think I think that's when Laracon EU is. We will find out here in just a second.
Yeah.
Yeah, February 3rd, 4th. So perfect. Like we would need to get it out polished by the beginning of January so that people can be using it for the month leading up to it.
Okay, so new timeline is we have a beta for AU.
Yeah, or maybe like an alpha.
Okay, fine, an alpha. We'll have a pilot for AU, and then beta for EU, and then see if there's still interest after EU.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna.
And I mean, this is really what, like, Karl, this is it's like a portfolio project. This isn't even like something that's gonna be huge or anything.
That
so.
We're gonna get a call from Taylor, and he's like, "Hey, so this project you're working on is pretty cool. Like, let's keep rolling with it. Here's a couple dollars to keep working on it."
I was like, if we're lucky, he'll like offer to host it on Laracon Cloud as a sponsorship, and that'll be the extent of it. So
if we're lucky, we'll get a shout out on stage of him going, "Hey, by the way, if you're on LaraBets, VS Code, VS Code, VS Code."
Oh my God. Yeah. So anyway, that's where we are with LaraBets. We'll see if that continue. Karl and I are interested in contributors. So like we can't make it open source, but we are happy to get people involved that have access to Flux and whatnot. So if you're in that pool or you're just kind of interested in even giving us, conceptual feedback and stuff like that.
Early beta access or alpha access. Absolutely.
Just let us know.
If you are a project manager and love writing linear tickets, let me know.
Mm-hmm.
There are people out there. There are people I know that are like, I love writing Jira tickets. I'm like, you're insane, but all right, here you go. So yeah, if you're one of those types of people, ping one of us on Telegram, or if you know our phone numbers or Discords or whatever, send us an email, whatever. We're interested in your feedback.
Totally. So is there anything else? Let's see. We're at 30 minutes. We'll probably go ahead and wrap this up pretty soon. Is there anything else interesting we could chat about ourselves? I mean, man, there's a lot going on. I just don't know if like
what's your most fun hobby? Let's
I'm into
the hobby that is most interesting to you. All right, let's go.
I'm into rock climbing.
Rock climbing.
That's my family's jam. Yeah, we've already got our little 3-year-old. I mean, he's not even 3 yet. He's like started rock climbing when he was. Oh shoot! I mean, we have a wall in our house.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I mean, it's nothing big. It's like literally we have a playroom. That's like the room above our garage, and it's sort of got this like A-frame construction
Sounds a lot like
for
my house.
for the ceiling. And so I was just like, I bet I could whack some plywood up on the wall and put some bolts on it. And so literally it goes up and over the roof and then back down, and we just climb on it. Anyways,
that's pretty cool.
We got our littlest one on the wall. I mean, like shortly after he could stand, like we would just let him play around. And now, like a year and a half later, he can actually like climb, and he weighs just enough to do the auto belays. That's the thing where like you can self hook into it. It goes up and then it lowers you slowly. They have like a 20-pound minimum weight limit or something around that ballpark, and he's like just under 30. So he gets to use that, and he can actually go like halfway up the tall walls at our local gym and have fun with that stuff. So
that is awesome.
But it's like it's our family hobbies, our closest friends we met through climbing. It's actually a really good community. Like it's just really nice people that do it, and it's like a fantastic way to combine exercise, problem solving, and being social, like all in one setting. So anyways,
that's awesome.
How about you, Karl? What's your jam?
Guitars.
Guitars. Sweet.
I've been playing since I was 12 years old. So I've been doing it for a really, really, really long time.
Is there a particular genre that you focus on?
Yeah. I'm a huge fan of like David Gilmour from Pink Floyd and Tempe Teranishi from Thrice. Like there's a bunch of, it's kind of all over the place but it's a bunch of different like rock type bands from various genres that are pretty cool. So I'm kind of all over the place. I've even tried to do some Slipknot at some point, and that was just like, no, I'm good. My hands don't work that well. So yeah, that's
well, maybe in some episode we'll just have you like interject with a little riff, and I'll put you on the spot.
Just cut you off and play something. That'd be pretty fun.
So if you randomly hear on a guitar in a future episode of Voices of the Code, you'll know it was Karl jamming on something.
It'll just be like me jumping on stage and going, and in comes Steven. That would be pretty funny.
Yeah. I'm also into. I'm kind of a foodie, but like not in the traditional sense. Like I'm a weirdo.
Are we like the custom like weird types of tools for cooking, or like utensils, or is it like?
Oh yeah, definitely a gadget guy. Like we have every kitchen utensil you could pretty much possibly imagine. Like damn near a commercial kitchen in our house. But yeah, I'm like a weirdo. I roast my own coffee.
Me too. There's a coffee shop around there. Well, I don't roast my own. I buy roasted beans, but they freshly brew them like that day. So yeah.
Like literally in my kitchen, I have a commercial grade sample roaster.
Okay, so I'm going to Steven's house. So next episode will probably be there.
Yeah. So that's kind of wild. My wife just like got me going on that. She was like a random Christmas gift one year, and she was trying to figure out what to get me. They'd be a little surprised. Like we try to do that every year. It's like the normal list, and then it's like, okay, what's something I could just sort of surprise you with you didn't ask for? And I can't remember how many years ago it was, but she just like got me this little hand roaster I had to do over an open flame. It was like this little ceramic thing for like, I don't know, $40 or something off of Amazon. And I was like,
became a hobby then.
This is kind of fun. I quickly got off of that because I was like burning my hand and stuff. But then I got myself, like a very entry level little electric convective heat one. And then from there, it just kind of kept getting worse and worse. And now I'm like, I have like my in-game, like this is my fourth roaster. I will never need anything better. But it's a lot of fun. And like, I guess eventually it would pay for itself because I can basically get green coffee beans for between like half to 1/4 of the cost of roasted.
Right.
So if I'm drinking coffee that would, I get like, because it's so much cheaper for me to do it, I can get coffee that at a store would be $40+ a pound. It's like really gourmet coffee, but it only costs me $10 a pound. So it's like only slightly above Starbucks, price levels.
Right. You can get 2 cups of Starbucks for one price, or you can go home and roast your own coffee and spend an hour doing it.
So about once a month, I break out my roaster and I roast my stuff. And I'm really into pizza. I like my Neapolitan pizzas, and so I go pretty all out on like dough and our sauce and stuff like that. So
Steven's next side project is building an app where you can buy his roasted beans.
I hear there's this thing called like a group of guys that they sell coffee in the terminal.
Yeah, what the heck is that?
I don't know.
Terminal shop, by the way. They were there. It's pretty cool. Did you meet the Primeagen while you're there, or?
I mean, super freaking briefly. Like, I didn't get to have a full blown conversation.
All right. I'm gonna go on a quick tirade here. He is the coolest guy I've ever seen. If you watch his YouTube videos or watch him on Twitch, he's goofy, but he's genuine. Like everything about him is like, go out and do that. Go bet on yourself. Go do your thing. That is legitimately his vibe everywhere.
Yeah.
I was talking to him. I was like, hey, I'm a Laravel developer. I write PHP, but I'm also interested in doing stuff in Rust and Golang because of your YouTube videos and stuff. And he's like, do it. Absolutely. How?
Yeah.
I'm an idiot. No, he's the coolest guy because of that. He'll just be like, I'm an idiot, but if I can learn it, then you got this. And
he's totally not an idiot, but
he's not. He is very intelligent guy. But I mean, okay. So the key takeaway here, I guess, is go to a Laracon. These people are just walking around. Like, I bumped into Taylor Otwell like 50 times. The guy is just everywhere.
Yeah.
Aaron Francis, everywhere. Adam Wadden was just standing in the middle of the room waiting for people to walk up to him. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Caleb Porcio.
Like 900 other people that you might not know their names, but they're totally worth meeting. So.
Absolutely. I mean, I met Steve. Well, I meant to meet Stephen Fox at Laracon, but apparently he's hard to find.
We became aware of each other because of.
Fair enough. But there's not only the big names that are walking around that you can actually talk to and like ask questions to, but there's like people that are walking around that have a very different background from you.
Yeah.
And you can be like, hey, so where do you work? What do you do? And the coolest part is you guys always have something in common. You can just be like, hey, what got you into Laravel? And that conversation starts itself. So go to a Laracon. It's 100% worth it.
It's nice too, as like an introvert. You realize you're around 1,000 other introverts. So it's like it's easier to break the ice because nobody else wants to do it either. So.
Right. But it's kind of this weird thing. At least I notice is you see people walking around and eventually like you lock eyes with that person and you just like walk in and start talking. I don't know how it works, but it's just like you're walking around and you're like, all right, you look interesting. Let me go ask you a question. I don't know how it works. It's the weirdest thing to me. But there was also that Telegram chat where people were like, hey, I'm over here if you guys want to meet up. I'm over here if you want to meet up.
Yeah. Honestly, and those were like some of the best. I mean, like the people I'm staying in touch with quite a bit from Laracon are the people that I just got like, a beer with before or not before an event, but like before the day of the event. I guess it was like Monday night and we just all met up at like one of the local breweries. And like, it's nice having those conversations between 8, 10, 12 people. It's like once the event really starts, there's like 900 people in the room, or even the after party, there's hundreds, very loud, and so it's hard to have like very lengthy conversations with some people. So I just really enjoyed like the dinners and the lunches and stuff like that, where you get to like kind of break off and hang out with specific people for a little while.
There's also some pretty funny moments that happen. Like me and my coworker are sitting in like the fourth row, like right in front of the stage on the right side, and we had an empty chair next to us. And this is gonna be a really funny story, but I'll go ahead and say it anyway. So we're sitting there. There's an empty chair next to us, and this guy just walks up and like plops down next to us. He's like, "Hey, is this seat taken?" And he's a cool, like he's really funny. He's kind of goofy, and he's just like having a good old time. I'm like, "Yeah, man, go ahead, have a seat." He's like, "Thanks." And you wanna ask me who that person was? It's
So
really
Karl,
funny.
who was that person?
It was Justin Jackson. Yeah. So Transistor FM, everyone.
I was about to say, we don't have like a technically traditional sponsor for this show, but
Justin Jackson from Transistor FM is actually technically sponsoring this or they're hosting it for us. So
So thank you, Justin.
Absolutely. Justin, you're
he
amazing.
He was actually one of the people that was at the brewery the night on Monday night.
Really?
Yeah. He showed up and cool.
He's a really cool guy. If you guys ever get a chance to meet him,
super nice.
He's like every freaking tech conference I've ever heard of. Like, he posted the other day, he's like, "Yeah, I'm at next JS Con." And I'm like, "The heck is that?" Didn't even know that was a thing. Mm-hmm. He's like, "Yeah, I'm here." I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
So
he was super nice. He was super nice. All right.
That's going to wrap it up for us.
Yeah, that sounds good. I think that was we're at a good point. And next week, we're going to try to do the show weekly, right? I think that's the plan.
Yeah, the plan is weekly. My goal is to try and get, I think, and don't quote me on this, but I think it's going to be Alex 6 from Philo. So
that sounds good.
I'll try to reach out to Alex and see if he's good to do next week.
But yeah, we'll figure out a guest and we will bring them to you, and we'll start chatting with a bunch of the really cool people in the Laravel community that you might not have heard of before.
All right, see you guys next week.
That sounds good. See you later, Karl.
Bye.